Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of Money Means Business. Today, the episode is going to be totally dedicated to a very important, vital sector in our economy, tourism. There are many reports which were released by international let's say economic institutions and entities speaking about tourism and about the future of Egyptian tourism, particularly in the coming 5 years, for example. And there are estimates. We are going to agree or to differ. We do have a lot to do. Our homework is big. Since Egypt is big, then our homework is big. We deserve more. And we do not have a ceiling. We are all the time raising the bar because we are really ambitious, because we do have a lot of dreams which should turn to be reality going on, process going on the ground. We are very much delighted to have with us an expert who is going to tell us in detail all the answers of these questions and all about our homework, and also the comments regarding the reports which were released, as I said, by international or global economic organizations regarding this vital sector. Well, right after this detailed comprehensive report about our tourism sector and about some of the reports or evaluations to be accurate, we are going to be back with more, so stay tuned only on Nile TV International.
Fitch Solutions, a financial services of Fitch Ratings, expects an increase in the number of tourist arrivals to Egypt during the coming period, as it expects 11.6 million tourists to arrive in Egypt during 2023 due to the decline in the repercussions of the Ukrainian crisis and the decline in restrictions related to confronting the coronavirus. Fitch said that the number of tourists was affected in 2022 due to the Ukrainian crisis, pointing out that the number of tourists is expected to reach 13 million tourists above pre-corona levels by 2024. It also expected the arrival of 13.51 million tourists in 2023 and the arrival of 14.4 million tourists in 2026. Under the title Egypt in the Eyes of the World 2022, Assistant Prime Minister Osama al-Buhari explained that the hotel sector has achieved a boom in recent years and Egypt has become the leader in African countries in hotel projects during 2022, in addition to the development of Egypt's position in travel and tourism indicators. The Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, Ahmed Isa, confirmed that 100% of experts expect improvement in the tourism sector, pointing out that 95% of the tourism activity and industry is based on the private sector. During his speech before the Senate, Egypt's tourism potential deserves to reach 30 and 40 million tourists annually, noting that according to a study prepared by the ministry, the number of potential tourists wishing to visit Egypt is about 334 million potential tourists in 2028, pointing out that the ministry aims for rapid growth from 25 to 30% annually. In light of the influx of tourists from all over the world, the first Chinese tourist delegation since the corona pandemic, numbering 28 passengers, arrived in Egypt, coming from the Chinese city of Chengdu. The Chinese ambassador affirmed that the delegation's arrival comes within the framework of the continuation of relations between Egypt and China and will support Egypt's continued advancement of its development plans with the support of China, Chinese companies, and Chinese capabilities. Sharm el-Sheikh International Airport received a private plane coming from India carrying 367 passengers for the purpose of holding a wedding ceremony in Sharm el-Sheikh. This event is considered a promising start to attract a new type of tourism in Egypt, which is the revitalization of wedding tourism in Egypt, which is famous for Turkey and Dubai due to its economic returns, as the size of the wedding market in the Middle East reaches $4.5 billion annually. In light of the continuous participation in tourism forums and exhibitions, Ahmed Isa, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, participated in the opening of the International Tourism Exhibition FITUR 2023 in its 43rd session, which was inaugurated by King Philip of Spain, who received the tourism ministers of the countries participating in the exhibition to welcome them. For his part, Mr. Ahmed Isa pointed out the importance of participating in this exhibition, which is the third largest international tourism gathering and the largest tourism exhibition for Spanish-speaking countries, pointing to the importance of the Spanish market as one of the main tourist markets for Egypt. In a related context, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi directed to strengthen efforts to develop the civil aviation sector and invest the economic maximum of its revenues, including Egypt's strategic and unique geographical location, which provides huge opportunities in the field of air traffic and civil aviation, and its possession of a chain of international airports throughout the country, which provides huge opportunities in the field of air traffic and civil aviation as well as tourism. In light of the corona crisis that the world suffered from last year, in addition to the Russian-Ukrainian war, the Egyptian government intends to increase tourism revenues by more than 3 times over the next 3 years.
لأن إذا كنا النهارده بنتكلم إن الحمد لله عندنا صحيح بالرغم من كل الأزمات بقى عندنا 11 مليون سايح، وده تقريبا بقت الأرقام قبل أزمة كورونا، ولكن إحنا طموحنا مضاعفة هذا العدد وفي خلال فترة زمنية بسيطة. فإذا كان النهارده كانت إيراداتنا بتيجي من السياحة في حدود ال 11-12 مليار دولار سنويا، انا بتكلم مع السياح النهارده مع القطاع النهارده الخاص والمطورين عن ان احنا نحقق مستهدف 30 مليار دولار في خلال السنوات القليلة القادمة.
The ambitious goal set by the Egyptian government indicates that it does not see that the current crisis resulting from the Russian-Ukrainian war and future geopolitical crisis will have a significant impact on the sector. At the same time, the Egyptian government continues its efforts to attract more tourists from other European markets and is making efforts that also include attracting tourists from untapped markets in Latin America and other markets including the Gulf countries. And by seeking to attract a large number of tourists and within the framework of digital transformation steps, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities indicated that there are about 78 nationalities that can obtain a tourist visa to visit Egypt electronically through the website, in addition to working on digitizing entry tickets, archaeological sites, and museums. He noted that 1.7 million tickets were sold in an automated manner out of a total of 2 million tickets sold in December 2022. In light of the state of passion that all celebrities around the world have for Egyptian antiquities, the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism received a gift from a plate of gold as Elon Musk, the owner of the Twitter platform and one of the most famous personalities in the world and the richest of them, wrote in his tweet commenting on his fascination with the Dendret Temple, how great it is, and the genius of our Egyptian ancestors in engineering, saying, Egyptian civilization needs no introduction. Comments poured in on Musk's tweet, the most prominent of which was from the Minister of International Cooperation, Dr. Rania al-Mashad, which renewed her invitation to Musk to visit Egypt, and she said in a tweet on Twitter, "We participated in knowing the secrets of Egyptian civilization to learn about many untold stories by visiting the Grand Egyptian Museum. It will be a unique and exceptional experience. Egypt welcomes you." In 2007, the former Russian president visited Egypt's tourist attractions, where he spent a full hour visiting the pyramids and the entire archaeological area. The ancient Egyptian civilization, its history and treasures always receive great attention from the stars and celebrities of the world who are keen to visit Egypt and its cultural monuments and document the visits with pictures and videos, and some words and phrases in love with Egypt and the pyramids of Giza represent a dream for many tourists, politicians, and celebrities around the world.
Welcome back, and to start immediately, we do have a lot to speak about, and we are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio Dr. Heba Zahran, our tourism development expert. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Heba.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure.
And
Pleasure
as I
for
said, we
me.
do have a lot to speak about. And first, to start with this Fitch report and speaking about the numbers of tourists, they expected that we are going to receive until the year 2026. Just before air, you said, or you told me that we should not agree on that. Simply, we do have bigger dreams and bigger
Yes,
ambitions
true.
and bigger plans to be implemented on the ground. Would you please elaborate?
Yeah, this is actually totally right. Yani, I would say that we are aiming, and I don't want to use the word of dreaming, because now we are on the floor. There is no time to dream anymore. We have the
Plans.
dreams. We need to have a plans to make it happen. So as you said, we have a lot of homework to do. Meanwhile, last year, we already reached the 11 million traveler came to Egypt, and we reached almost 12, even maybe less than 12 million US dollar income annually last year. So what we are aiming now to reach during the 2023, we are aiming and having a target to reach more than 15 million travelers to Egypt. So according to Fitch report, they're expecting for us during 2023 to reach 11.6 million, which is we wouldn't.
Which is not our target at all.
This is not our target,
Yeah.
and I would say no. We are aiming more, and we can reach it. Especially this year, inshallah, we're going to have the event of the opening ceremony of the great museum.
The Grand Egyptian Museum or the gym.
So, yes,
We are
exactly.
going to speak about this and about the renovation of many other museums and the establishment of many museums scattered all over Egypt.
Yes.
It's not only related or
We
centered
will,
in center
we will go to this
places.
point.
Yeah,
But,
but
what I mean is every single new project are open in Egypt. That means equal numbers of visitors. We're increasing the number of hotels and number of rooms to get ready to accommodate the number we are aiming to reach. The Great Museum, we are expecting only 5 million visitors this year during from the opening ceremony till the end of the year, because this what we are the minimum we have put as a target. This is the only for the museum, 5 million visitors. So we have a lot in Egypt, a lot of places, a lot of international destinations now are getting ready to
this is
accommodate
exactly
the.
what I want to focus on, because I think we have changed already our tourism map. I mean, we added, for example, religious tourism regarding, for example, the trip of the Holy Family.
Yes.
We've added many of the new museums and renovated museums. It's not only located in the central cities, if I may say so.
True.
For example, I didn't know that there is a museum for cars, for example, in Sharm el Sheikh.
Yeah.
This is one of the examples. Let me add to this the new excavations and the new discoveries. Our propaganda regarding the new discoveries, and last but not least, it was the latest and the expedition headed by His Excellency, of course, Dr. Zay Hawass in the necropolis in Saqqara and the other in Luxor. You would find a lot to talk about and a lot to change our tourism map. If you please elaborate
True.
on that.
Yes, actually, Egypt is يعني full of يعني full of historical and
Under each stone, you would find something to speak about our magic, our civilization.
exactly,
True?
exactly, true. So that's why from the central point in Cairo, around all Egypt, we are having a lot and a lot and a lot for to attract the tourists to come to Egypt. Climate-wise, actually, we are very lucky this coming years, because the climate changes is a plus for us. Now Europe are targeting to come to Egypt during this year and next year, due a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Number one, the crisis of gas, electricity. They are now planning to have a full of months in Egypt with the cost of around 1,200 or 300 British
Sterling
pounds. So this is much cheaper than the cost, the monthly cost or the overhead expenses
energy
monthly
there.
of energy. So he's planning now to have a long vacation, more than 2 or 3 weeks in Egypt, having enjoying
Enjoy Egypt's sun
leisure,
initiative, yes.
yes, everything, and costing less.
So it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation. So this is from what we can gain from the climate changes. What we can gain again from the Russian and Ukrainian crisis, that previous we used to have 70% from the market segment from Russian and Ukrainian comes to Egypt annually. 70% from the market segment is Russian tourist and Ukrainian. The 30% between the European market segment and what we miss, and we are aiming to having them again back to Egypt, is the Far East market segment. The United States is a new market segment. We are hitting now to
Opening
reach
a new market there.
exactly. So increasing number of visitors to Egypt now, based on having a bigger percentage from the market segments around worldwide. The Red Sea having a lot of new small cities and destinations, especially built for the travelers. The Mediterranean, let's say New Alamein city, now a lot of hotels are underdeveloped now. Maybe before the summer we'll get ready. So inshallah. We're opening a new destinations in North Coast again. Ras Al Hikma is now a lot of hotels underdeveloped. Marsa Matruh, this is the North Coast side.
All over the
Loser and
along the
Aswan,
North Coast, you would find beautiful places.
beautiful places,
So
and
because of this, I'm speaking about changing the tourism map. Have we changed the tourism map
we have changed it already.
to the
Since
extent that we can say that we achieved a big portion of what we really planned for, not dream?
yes, no, yes, we can say that we reach 60 or 65%.
Great.
From the building new destinations, from the transportation around
Infrastructure.
it's
The
infrastructure,
roads, the access,
everything. Because this is one of the very important elements to the travelers. Again, now we are using the new concept of changing the real estate around in Egypt, move it to the concept of property management. So we can have or increase our number of rooms, and instead by having suite and hotel apartments and within the cities downtown, Cairo, Alexandria, North Coast, mainly North Coast, gonna be based on the hotel
So
apartments and suites.
townhouses, hotels.
All this can be used for the travelers. So a lot of homework, as we said, and it's all under
A process going on the ground.
Process underground. A lot of projects is almost gonna be finished very soon. So that's why I'm saying we are aiming to reach this year more than 15 million, not 11.6 or not even
And
12.
we are not going to wait until the year 2026 to have this
Exactly.
number.
Yeah, especially that we are having another dream to reach 30 million annually. So if we can start with 15 this year, Next year, that means that we'll do our efforts more to reach the 20 million.
Yeah.
And the third year, we'll reach
Et
25
cetera.
and etc.
It's
So I would say this is not fair for
the
Egypt.
the ice ball effect.
Exactly.
So you mentioned a very important market or a very important segment, which is the Far East or South Asia, or Asia to be accurate. And in the Asian tour of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he was keen to speak about this issue in specific with many of the concerned bodies there, whether in India or before that, we had these contacts with China, with the visit of the Chinese foreign minister who came here in an official visit to Egypt just less than 10 days ago. And he had these important meetings with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and with our top diplomat, Sameh Shukri. What the should-be plans of us to invade, let's say, these markets in specific, India and China? Because if it's only India and China, we are going to have millions of tourists, millions of guests, to be accurate, enjoying our sun, as you've kindly mentioned, and enjoying every kind of tourism, whether it's culture, it's entertainment, it's nature, you name it.
Well, we are very happy actually now to, and this we can announce it already, the whole private sector in our tourism division or sector here, they start to knock the door again in China and Japan, because those specific two countries are adoring the historical places. They adore our Egyptian historical
Our ancient civilization.
yeah, exactly. So those before we used to have more than 3.5 million visitors annually from these two countries only. So now we are aiming to have 5 or 6 million. And from the other side, India, we need to cover their needs, because India visitors are adoring the meditation places and meditation tourists, if we can call it. Yeah. So what we need to focus now,
White desert, for example, the safari there.
safari,
yeah.
sea, and mountains. They adore the places.
This atmosphere of,
the
let's say,
atmosphere of
spiritual sports,
exactly.
if we can say so,
Or-
yoga and this stuff,
Or to
meditation
have
sports.
your meditation and mind treatment and yoga sessions. All these exercises, India people are adoring this. Yani especially we're having some groups coming direct from India, direct to Dahab.
Yeah, and to Siwa.
And to Siwa. And they go back from Dahab to India. Yani, so these charters coming to
So, New
specific
Delhi,
places.
Dahab, New Delhi.
Exactly. So what we are dreaming for is to get this kind of places ready to accommodate this kind of groups. So this a new homework, we need to work on it. But historical places are ready. Now museums after development are ready for the visitors and travelers from China and Japan. So we are aiming to catch at least minimum 5 to 6 million visitors from these two countries only. So that's why again numbers, we are having a target and plan to reach from the market segments, from the whole market segments, not less than 15 million visitor or traveler this year.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And if you permit me to focus on the events which we do have to celebrate special occasions, like I will never forget, for example, the Mommy's Convoy, and how I think hundreds of news agencies and of TV channels were here to document the wonderful moments we lived and the whole world lived. And just a few days ago, we had this wonderful concert by Maestro Nader Abbasi and the Egyptian great soprano Fatma Saeed, and how while we were speaking their own language, they knew that we do have such places, such artists, such fine arts, let me say so, and that we can be the source of their happiness or the source of their enjoyment by all means. Tell me, how do you see these events?
Well, these events, actually, I can tell you that here in Egypt we are excellent. Khalas, we have the exercises before, so we can say that we are perfect in doing
Organizing such
and
events.
organizing such events. So, and this is from long, long years ago, but now we need to focus more on having an annual calendar for this such events.
Yeah.
So at least if we manage to have 2 events monthly, along the year we will manage to have a new concept for the tourist industry. Yani we will open a new element, specific
An added value.
and added value.
Yeah,
So
sure.
and this is we can yani gain a very high number
This
of
annual
visitors
calendar
from
is
this.
very important, and this is a very nice idea, and I think it's implemented in other places. I mean, this is the win-win situation when we exchange experience with other countries who did it before, and it really
I can
succeeded.
tell you simply,
Yeah.
we are very good in this calendar, especially in our. I'm talking about the tourism industry. Even in any hotel or any property, when you go there, you will find a weekly calendar, event calendar, and monthly event calendar, and annually. Yani we used to have the New Year calendar event. We used to have the Christmas. We have 2 Christmas during December and during Jan. We are having even the Halloween for some of market segments. We used to make some events for there. They used to have it in their countries. So we are very good in this. So simply we need to have a big calendar for the whole country, for Egypt.
And it can cover many fields. I mean,
Internationally.
for example, when it comes to concerts like music and like the Philharmony Orchestra,
cover,
it can be
sports,
sports,
covers everything.
like the squash championship we had just beside the Museum of Civilizations there in El Fustat.
true.
So it can cover many fields, and this is going to be another source of attraction.
Exactly.
But there's also another a piece of news which I read, and this was a statement released by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, by the way, that about 180 countries can have their visa
at the airport.
at the airport. And this is something relatively new. And I think that this is another added value or another way to attract more visitors from those 180 countries.
True.
180 countries is such a big number.
Yes, true. And this is very good point, because now this is the time to get a bit free from regulations and rules and
Bureaucracy.
and bureaucracy,
Wasting time.
policy, procedures, makes the tourist feels that he's not in open country. So we need to give some space. When we say Spain, when you go to Spain, you will find there is no regulations for the tourists. Nothing. Just go and have
fun.
and have fun. Have relaxing. Have leisure. Do whatever you want. So and the attracting also, if we talk about Spain or France or this kind of countries, which is they're having a huge number of visitors yearly, they have a kind of attraction for the tourists, very important, which is the shopping places and shopping areas. Brands, they have a lot of brands, They have a lot of malls. They have a lot of shopping areas covering every single need for every single traveler. So we need to have our homework in this part also. So
Sure.
we still have some areas we need to cover it in order to have a complete
And every day there's
international
something new.
destinations.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes,
Everything
sure,
there's
sure.
something new. For example, forgive my ignorance, just a few weeks ago, I discovered that there is wedding tourism.
Yes.
What's wedding tourism? I discovered that this is a very important segment in maybe all our hotels, and the hospitality industry, let me say, made this maybe for specific reasons and in certain timings on top or seasonal also. And in addition to the conferences tourism, I think after our success in organizing the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, this was another message sent to the whole world that simply we can.
We are getting ready now for the youth forum. So again, this sector we are very good on. So what we need is to have a real international calendar. This is the most important
Let me put my
marketing
question
tool.
in other words. Are we coping with all these developments and changes?
Yes, sure. We're getting ready, but again, we need to focus on the calibers who gonna run this all ceremonies around. The hospitality is very important. So the guests, when he travel to anywhere, even you or me, when we travel, we are looking for three main issues: security, which is there, a good place to sleep, clean, tidy, quality of food, quality of service, quality of hospitality, and guest service touch, as we say, or as we call it. So again, we lost a lot of calibers in this industry. We need to rebuild our calibers.
I think that this is a process going on.
The
also.
process is going
It's
on,
going on.
but we need to attract more and more because number of employees to run all these projects and all these destinations and to train them in order to have the best quality with the best service for our best clients or best guests to attract. We need a lot of, a big number, a huge number of employees. So we still have to work and hardly to get ready with this
And I
teams.
think this should be the main goal of fruitful coordination and cooperation between the public and private sector. And
Yes.
I'm not going to skip at all speaking about the importance of the private sector here. And it was said more than once in many occasions, whether by President Sisi or Prime Minister Madbouli or Minister of Antiquities and Tourism Ahmed Isa, speaking about the importance of this big share. You're invited to do it, you're invited to come, and there are a lot of incentives and there are a lot of procedures which are now facilitated for all. Come, have your share, and this is going to be again a win-win situation. I'd like to speak about this issue in specific because this is very important.
This is very good point, but I would say it in the opposite way, because our industry, 80% or even more, is private sector. So the private sector, they know very well what they have to do in order to keep their investments ongoing. So they support what we are looking for from this 20%. The public sector and the government support. So that's why we can see it very clear now that the government, the prime minister, and even our president and everybody now is trying to give a support and empower the private sector in order to reach our goal. Because again, 80% from this
industry
industry is is private sector. So that's why we are running after our investments in
Sure.
order to gain or to have a return of investment.
And there is a space.
Exactly.
There is a space for all. But I'd like here to focus on, one example which I see big. When President Sisi said in one of his speeches to the nation that the company which is going to run the gym, the Grand Egyptian Museum, is a private sector company.
Yes.
Meaning that it's not going to be totally related to the Ministry of Culture or the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. This is another push forward.
I can tell you,
Yeah.
the success for this industry comes from the vision of we are running these sectors by private sector, because private sector is more focus, having more free hand and upper hand to their investments in order to make it happen. With no regulations, no that much bureaucracy. So that's why it should be run by private sector. Even the area around the gym.
flexibility and resilience, and here money talks.
Yeah, of course.
It's our program. Money means business.
Investment means
Yeah.
money. So again, our program is money means business.
Yes.
So business, this is our business. We have to run it in a proper way with targets and plans, financial target and success target, because both together making money. So that's why I totally agree. And even the area around the Great Pyramids,
The Grand Egyptian
the
Museum
Grand
or the
Egyptian
gym.
Museum
and
the
the Giza
pyramids
Plateau,
area,
the Giza Plateau of the
the
pyramids.
whole Giza Plateau
Yeah.
is managed by private sector, and gonna be managed by private sector. Even the mall around and the restaurants around and this walking area and the walking destination for the travelers.
Because
and
this is
those
what's
by
taking place
private
in
sector.
Dubai, for example, in all the Gulf, and here I'm speaking about our allies, our brothers in the Arab nation. But of course, this is implemented all over the world, and
Everywhere,
particularly
yes, sure.
in Europe. But here, I'd like to focus on CSR, or corporate social responsibility, because this is another important side of the coin.
Yeah.
Because this should be, there are rights and duties, and this balance should be there. Of course, you do have the right to practice your work, your business, to manage your business, of course, to make such an outcome, benefits, all this, of course, it's 100% your right. But on the other hand, vocational training, having those who should be responsible for shouldering the responsibility of this sector in the coming generation, let's say, or let's say in this period of time, I'm not going only to focus on education. Education is very important. Colleges are very important. Universities and special colleges are very important. But training on the ground, the vocational training, the practical issue, how to manage this gap between theory and practice, this is another thing. And I think the private sector should have the lion's share.
Well, this is very good point. And I can tell you that the private sector we are having. This is one of our main, I can say, main management system. The training and learning and development for even for the whole workers and employees within the industry, and we give some help and some support to adapt the behaviors around for from the social
arena or background,
responsibility around,
yeah.
Because this affects directly our tourism industry. So if we're gonna talk about the social responsibilities, Actually, this needs a lot of work from the government and from the public social responsibility organizations and the private even companies are working on development and retraining people. So this part is very important because the behavior of the public people on the street even, they're affecting
Spreading awareness, this is our media, this is our role. But the vocational training or the training or courses, stuff like that, I think this should be a fruitful result of full coordination and cooperation between the private and public sector. True?
Yes, true. Very true.
Well, I enjoyed our discussion as usual. Dr. Heba Zahran, our expert in tourism development, she was our dear guest here in this special episode of Money Means Business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for everything. And inshallah, we will be there.
Inshallah. And we are going to leave you with a promise to see you in more episodes on our screen. Well, let's now say goodbye. But before saying goodbye and before giving you the promise that we are going to be meeting same time on Nile TV International next week, let's have a quick look at what happened during the last 7 days in Egypt regarding the economic arena. Well, many thanks for watching. This was Nirmina Abdurrahman.
During his visit to India, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi discussed with the business community the reward of Indian investments, stressing readiness to provide all necessary support to Indian companies and their future projects that they plan to establish in Egypt, especially through cooperation with the Egyptian Sovereign Fund of Egypt and with regard to ports in light of what Egypt has become. From a series of modern ports on the coasts of the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Suez. The major Spanish airlines launched new charter flights from Madrid to Luxor and Cairo every Monday alternately, starting from the 3rd of April. And this charter will contribute to increasing and diversifying the programs that visit Egypt, which will benefit the tourism sector, and this comes within the framework of increasing the number of Spanish tourists. The transfers of Egyptians working abroad witnessed a remarkable development during the past 5 years, as it represents an important source of foreign exchange in Egypt, especially in light of the economic crisis the world is going through and the decline in tourism movement as a result of the Russian-Ukrainian war and the high volumes of inflation. And Egypt benefited from high oil prices in addition to strong economic activity in Europe and the United States, as Bloomberg predicted that remittances from Egyptians working abroad would exceed $41 billion by 2027-2028. The Ministry of Housing is studying raising the interest rate on real estate financing initiatives, especially the 3% and 8% initiatives following the increases in interest rates by the central bank during the past year, pointing out that this step comes with the aim of relaunching the initiatives again. This step comes after the limited demand for the units that the ministry recently offered within the projects of Dar Misr and Second Misr, especially since these units were offered in installments over 7 years without benefiting from real estate financing. Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Engineer Tariq Al-Mulla, revealed that there is a tendency by the state to establish the first gold refinery, as the government has prepared an integrated study on the first accredited gold refinery in Egypt in the Marsa Alam region, $200 million, indicating that the refinery will be internationally accredited and can stamp gold extracted from the mines and stamp it with the international code 9999, and it will be close to the sites of gold mines in Egypt. By strengthening the ties of friendship and brotherhood, Dr. Hani Swalem, Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources, inaugurated the drinking water station in the residential area of Jebel Lamoun, east of the capital Juba, as a gift from the Egyptian people to the brotherly South Sudanese people. Egypt has implemented 20 underground drinking water stations in remote areas with solar energy to provide drinking water for nearly 100,000 people, as well as implementing rainwater harvesting projects, reducing flood risks and clearing waterways from weeds. A Reuters poll conducted last Wednesday showed that the Egyptian economy will grow by 4.8% in the current fiscal year 2022-2023, faster than the government expected, which came at 4%. The poll expected the inflation rate to stabilize at 8.8% in 2024-2025. This would bring inflation back to the Central Bank of Egypt's target range of between 5% and 9%. Economists also predicted that the dollar, which circulates at 29.82 pounds, will decline to 26.24 pounds by the end of June 2023, but will rise again to 28.50 by June of 2024. Egypt ranked 84th in the world in the average speed of terrestrial internet service during the month of December, according to the Speed Test Index among 178 countries, with an average speed of 36.71 megabytes per second. Then Thailand came in third place with 175.93 megabytes per second. It is noteworthy that the global average download speed during the past month reached 59.75 megabytes per second compared to 25.06 megabytes per second. The state is exerting extraordinary efforts to complete the cultivation of 2.8 million faddans, which are being added to Egypt's agricultural area in the new Delta region, where the Egyptians established a butcher shop in the north, the noise of its equipment almost reaching a new butcher shop in the West Minya region to reclaim 1 million faddans. Attached to it is 16,000 faddans of greenhouses agricultural sector within the new agricultural capital project, to join another epic in the far south of the country in the new valley region, to add 1.5 million and a half acres to the agricultural area within the Tushka Al-Khair project, steps by which Egypt is racing against time to achieve a real agricultural renaissance that it has not witnessed in 150 years, to provide crops strategy and doubling the size of its agricultural area to 15 million acres.